What's going on, Frankmeisters? What's going on, Ruckus and Kristin?
What up?
Guys?
What up?
Hey, everybody.
What's going on, everybody in the chat? How's everybody doing? What's going on with you guys tonight?
Any interesting news today?
Your head's about to explode. That's what's going on.
This shit is getting crazy, isn't it?
The defense has done lost their freaking minds.
Go ahead and say it, Ruckus.
Dude, I don't understand the whole flooding.
I don't either.
You know what I mean? I would understand all of this if they did it little by little, but it's like, oh, fuck. She wants to go to trial. Shit. Let's drop everything. Weigh anchor, drop ballast, fill the tanks, do something. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Oh my God.
Down the hatches, boys.
I said it was going to go down from here after the Supreme Court did their thing.
Shit's got real.
Oh, yeah. I don't think if this didn't prove to everybody that's pro-defense that they're not ready for trial in May, I don't know what to tell you guys. I know you guys feel the same way as I do. It smells. Me and Kristin were talking about this earlier today. It smells like the same scenario, but in different charges as the Keegan Klein scenario. Remember, he was coming up on trial in August of 2023, and what did he do? He continued it. And what's the defense doing here? Coming up on this hearing and coming up on trial. They're just putting shit out there to try to delay it, get hearings set and all this crap. Because if they can get a hearing set outside of the trial date, you see what I'm saying? They're going to have to.
If 1/8 of everything that they said in that 18-page document is true, that's unacceptable. If even a little bit of it is true. But you look at their first statement, and it's, well, if this causes a delay, it's not on us, it's on the state.
Right.
Then they go through 70 points, and the last point, number 70, right above Andy's signature, is, and if this causes delays, it's not on us, it's on the state.
Yeah,
that's stupid. I'm here to tell you, if you dropped a letter off in my mailbox and said, Ruckus, do not read this, I'm going to fucking read that. To say that Nick shouldn't have read that, no, it never should have been in his mailbox to start with.
Exactly.
That's your fault.
I think what the problem was is they didn't seal it, and it got uploaded.
Yep.
It got uploaded.
They should have sealed today.
I mean,
they got some real winners working in their offices. That's all I can say.
They should have sealed this bullshit today. They put a lot of information out.
They have a habit of sending emails to the wrong people, to sending information that shouldn't be sent, that should be under lock and key, leaving photos out for God knows who to grab. I mean, this whole defense team is incompetent.
They're either being malicious and nefarious or stupid.
Yeah,
and none of those are acceptable.
No,
not in the judicial system anyway. In a case like this,
he deserves better. As far as I'm concerned, he deserves better.
All right, let's get down to it, Kristin.
Okay.
If you want to start off, and
okay.
I'll start going to page 2. I'll start
Sure. So
I'll just comment.
Yeah, you do that.
This is the motion to compel and request for sanctions. Comes now the accused Richard Allen by and through counsel Andrew Baldwin and Bradley Rosie, and moves this court to compel the state of Indiana to provide certain discovery that the defense believes exists, but the state of Indiana has not provided to the defense. Additionally, the defense seeks a sanction against the state of Indiana for a variety of discovery violations detailed herein. The sanction requested is simply that any delay in the trial created by the state's violation of rules of discovery be assessed against the state of Indiana. In support of said motion, the accused states the following. Number 1, the defense has attempted to cooperate with the state of Indiana in order to comply with the spirit of Local Rule 08-CR00-18, which is attached and marked as Defense Exhibit A for the sole purpose of assisting the court and supplementing this motion to compel. Number 2, pursuant to the local rule, the state of Indiana shall disclose and furnish all relevant items and information under the rule to the defendant within 30 days from the date of appearance, subject to constitutional limitations and other limitations, and the defense shall provide the same within 30 days of the state providing its evidence. Number 3, pursuant to said local rule, the party seeking disclosure of evidence shall include in the party's motion or request a statement showing that the attorney making the motion or request has made a reasonable effort to reach agreement with opposing counsel concerning matters set forth in the motion or request, including date, time, place, and manner of this effort to reach an agreement.
To this day, the state of Indiana continues to provide late discovery of items and information that was required to provide no later than December 12, 2022, pursuant to local rule. For example, on February 20th, 2024, the defense sent a certified letter to the prosecutor's office seeking many pieces of evidence, over 20, that the defense believes exist, but it appears that the state of Indiana has failed to turn over to the defense. In the certified letter, the defense requested a determination if said evidence exists, and if so, to determine if that evidence has been turned over to the defense, as the defense was unable to locate any of the aforementioned evidence and the vast amount of discovery provided by the state of Indiana. In other words, the defense was seeking clarity as to whether the prosecution had turned over certain evidence or whether said evidence even existed. Number 7, the state of Indiana did not respond to the letter, but rather sent one discovery strand which contained a small portion of that evidence requested, including certain videotaped interviews that have never been turned over involving people integral to the timeline. Number 8, the state of Indiana turned over these pieces of evidence more than 17 months later, pursuant to the local rule without explanation. Number 9, pursuant to the local rule, the defense is not required to make specific requests for any evidence, as the state of Indiana is required to turn over all relevant items. Yet, without making the specific request, it appears that the defense would never have received these most recent pieces of evidence, including the videotaped interviews of certain witnesses. Number 10, the frustration from the defense is that this is not the first time that the defense has had to make specific requests for specific evidence that the state had failed to turn over to the defense. Number 11, because law enforcement and the prosecution are in total control of what evidence is ultimately turned over to the defense has no choice but to hope that the state of Indiana turns over all relevant evidence, especially exculpatory evidence. The defense simply does not have the luxury of knowing what relevant exculpatory evidence the state possesses and has turned over versus what relevant exculpatory evidence that the state of Indiana possesses but has failed to turn over.
Can I break in for a second?
Yeah.
Sure.
Now that's important. Okay. My problem is they're saying that they believe
Right.
that this evidence exists. So if anybody's on that team that's under 10, they believe Santa Claus exists. That doesn't matter. They need to be more specific than that. But, exculpatory evidence is key here. If the state has exculpatory evidence, they have to turn it over, as much as they don't want to. So if they're not doing that, then they're in the wrong there. But I haven't seen anything that would indicate that. Nothing.
Right.
Well, it seems like the defense is trying to implicate there's possibly some of that evidence that
Well, they're trying to deflect.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
they know
Because
that
they
there's
don't, if
shits
they
in the.
haven't seen the exculpatory evidence, how the hell do they know there's exculpatory evidence?
Well,
So-
hopefully they'll go into that as we go here. I haven't
Yeah.
read this yet.
Right.
Neither
But-
have I.
They're just they're just throwing stuff out there, trying to create a smoke screen, you guys, around
Mhm.
this case.
Yeah, sleight of hand, theatrics,
Yep.
diversionary. That's what they do. But that's all I want to say. I just want to jump in for that.
Number 12. Over the course of this case, the defense has learned of certain evidence referenced in other discovered documents or mentioned from other sources or from exercising common sense that has caused it, the defense, to believe that said evidence does exist, but that the prosecution had failed to turn over said evidence to the defense. And then the defense later determined that the prosecution did in fact possess those items, but failed to turn those items over to the defense until requested to do so by the defense. Number 13, the history of the prosecutor failing to turn over all relevant evidence to the defense has caused great concern to the defense. 14.
Now, in number 12, Kristin,
Mhm.
Exercising common sense that has caused us, the defense, to
Mhm.
believe that said evidence does exist.
Mhm.
Okay, common sense says you don't send a convicted felon sensitive emails, with trial evidence in it and discovery.
Exactly. Yes,
Common sense
exactly.
says you don't leave pictures laying out on the counter for
Mhm.
somebody to take pictures of actual trial evidence.
Exactly.
But now they're saying they got common sense all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, common sense isn't common with this defense team.
Yeah, that's not a weed that grows in everyone's garden.
He's taking the words right out of my mouth. I can't get a word in. He's thinking what I'm thinking now.
The history of the prosecutor failing to turn over all relevant evidence to the defense has caused great concern to the defense. And I just want to say here, they turned over mountains and mountains of discovery.
Yep.
And I don't believe they have gone through all of the discovery.
Well, think about this. Back in February, they were bitching about that. Remember?
Mhm.
Right, they were complaining that
Yeah.
they'll never have time to get through all this, and then
Yes.
2 weeks later they want a speedy trial. They don't know what the
Exactly.
hell they want.
They don't. And
I
they
They just want to
saying-
waste time to get a plea deal.
And
My
they haven't-
opinion.
Yeah, and they haven't gotten all the discovery because they haven't looked at all the discovery that they've been given. And that is my take on this for sure.
My opinion is that they've seen something again in the discovery that they've got that's not good for Richard Allen.
Oh, I'm sure.
Of course, Libby's phone's going to be the whole key.
Yes. Yes, it is.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Over the course of this case, many of the items that the state of Indiana has failed to provide to the defense in a timely manner are what the defense would label as major pieces of evidence, even exculpatory evidence. Number 15, many of the items that the state of Indiana failed to provide to the defense in a timely manner were only provided after the defense had specifically requested the items that the defense came to learn existed, but the state of Indiana had failed to turn over. Number 16, for example, one of the more important pieces of evidence in this case is the data received from the phone found at the scene where the victims were found, as this piece of evidence contains data concerning the down the hill video and other important information. Number 17, this phone and the data contained on the phone has been available since 2017, yet the defense did not receive the data from that phone by the deadline of December 14th, 2022, as designated by local rule. Number 18, the defense, knowing that this evidence simply had to exist, finally sent an email to the prosecutor on June 17th, 2023, requesting the data from several phones, including the phone in question that belonged to Liberty German. Number 19, the state of Indiana did not provide the phone data from Liberty German's phone until September 8th of 2023, nearly 9 months after the state of Indiana should have turned over that evidence, and nearly 3 months after the defense specifically requested that evidence, even though the defense is not required to make a specific request for relevant evidence. Now, remember, you guys, that in September of 2023, we are inching up to the nightmare Frank's motion and the October court date where she ended up removing them.
Mhm.
So a lot of things happened here that put a halt on this case where things were not dealt with and done for a reason. And it was a reason pointing directly to the defense and not the prosecution.
Exactly.
And for all you cheerleaders for the defense, the Frank's motionettes, right? Keep this in mind. In that Frank's motion, they said that their defense is a third party committed this crime. That's their defense. They're not saying he participated in any way. They're saying he's totally innocent of everything and somebody else did it. Now, does any of this shit that they're putting out so far, does that ring to you that they're putting it on somebody else? They're trying to protect him.
Yep.
For sure.
I mean, this going through this again, it's like reminding me of going over the Frank's motion again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
All right. Number 20. Most of the other items requested in the June 17, 2023 email to the prosecution still to this day have not been turned over to the defense. This includes data, reports, and other information related to the images of the bridge purportedly taken on Liberty Jobin's phone at 2:05 on February 13, 2017, as well as an image of Abigail walking on the bridge purportedly taken on Liberty German's phone at 2:07 on February 13, 2017, both purportedly sent through Snapchat. The 2:05 one's going to be the very first photo that Libby took when she was standing at the north end of the bridge looking down to the south, the black and white photo.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one they're probably talking about right there.
Well, that's why this case was called the Snapchat murders to start with, because of those two photos.
Right. Number 21. The week of August 5th, 2023, the defense took several depositions at the conclusion of the week. It became clear to the prosecution that the defense was pursuing information concerning certain Odinists that had been investigated by three law enforcement officers, Todd Click, Greg Frenzy, and Kevin Murphy. Number 22. And Frenzy's the one that got killed down there at the federal building in Terre Haute, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And on or about September 8th, 2023, nearly a month after in said depositions, the prosecutor provided a daunting amount of newly discovered evidence, including a letter from Todd Click's lawyer discussing Click's concern, essentially that the prosecution might be unaware of law enforcement's investigation into Bride Holder, Patrick Westfall, Elvis Fields, and others. Click believed were likely involved in the murders. This letter and its contents were highly exculpatory.
Now, listen, just real quick. Click came forward right after that Frank's motion and said no one in law enforcement believes that Odinism was involved with this case. He said that. Yeah. So that's a crock of shit.
Number 23. Upon receiving the missing evidence, the defense was surprised and shocked to learn that on May 1st, 2023, the prosecutor's office signed for the Todd Click letter and the exculpatory evidence and information contained in that letter, yet failed to alert the defense as to the existence of this exculpatory discovery until after the prosecutor knew for certain that the defense would definitely be calling Todd Click in for a future deposition, at which point in time the defense would most likely assuredly learn of the existence of this exculpatory evidence. McClelland did not turn over the letter and its exculpatory material to the defense until September 8, 2023. It took McClelland 131 days to turn over this exculpatory evidence. It was only turned over after McClelland knew that the defense would ultimately find out about the exculpatory evidence. Excuse me.
Now, how did McClelland find that out? And how did they know that McClelland find out? This is like high school shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Give me a break. Grow the fuck up.
Exactly.
24. 24. The prosecutor offered no explanation whatsoever as to why he had held onto exculpatory evidence for several months and only provided it to the defense once it became obvious that the defense would learn of the existence of that exculpatory evidence.
Number 25, certainly the defense would have been much further ahead in their defense of Richard Allen had the prosecutor turned over the click information in a timely manner. Certainly the defense would have been even more prepared for the August depositions had the prosecutor turned over that exculpatory evidence. Number 26, between September 8th of 2023 and October 6th of 2023, approximately 90 days before the January 2024 trial date that had been set, the state of Indiana dumped 14 hard drives, 5 flash drives, 1 disk, and certain e-discovery on the defense, including several videotaped interviews of third-party suspects that the defense had focused on when deposing law enforcement in early of August 2023. Number 27, the state of Indiana provided no explanation whatsoever why they had not turned over to the defense this massive amount of evidence, exculpatory or not, 9 months later than required under the local rule. And a month after the prosecution learned that the defense was pursuing a defense that certain third parties were involved in the murders. Much of the late discovered missing evidence pertained to the focus of law enforcement on certain suspects involved in Odinism. Number 28, it was apparent that had the defense not alerted the state of Indiana as to their strategy to pursue the Odinist angle in defending their client, and therefore the likelihood that the defense would talk to Todd Click, who would then reveal the existence of the letter, it is highly likely that the prosecutor would never have turned over that exculpatory evidence to the defense. 29, the very last discovered item that the defense received before the prosecutor requested that the defense be kicked off the case was geofencing evidence that the defense believes was received on October 6, 2023. Number 30, this geofencing evidence was received nearly 10 months after the state was required to turn it over and contained what appeared to be highly exculpatory evidence concerning a variety of important matters, including the phone numbers of multiple people who appear to have been at the crime scene or within 60 yards to 100 yards of the crime scene during the very times when the victims were purportedly being murdered, according to the state's timeline provided in the probable cause affidavit. Number 31, in this late discovery, the defense found a map prepared by someone, presumably law enforcement, that appears to track the movements of these people in and around the crime scene the afternoon of December 13th, 2017, including between 3:02 p.m. and 3:27 p.m. at or very near the location within 60 to 100 yards of where the bodies were ultimately found the following day.
So they're saying that somebody was there almost a year after the crime occurred. We'll scroll back up. They just said on December 13th, on the afternoon of December 13, 2017, including between 3:02 and 3:27 p.m.
That was later that year.
Yeah. This crime happened in February. So they're not even proofreading their shit. They're nitwits, man.
It's bad. It's bad. Yeah.
Oh,
Their motions always leave a lot to be desired. It's like, who's writing these? You know, I know who's writing their motions. In my opinion, this motion is screams of a particular person, one particular person on social media. One particular person, and she is listed as a witness. Go on.
Yep.
Why would they have somebody like that writing shit like this?
Who knows? Who knows?
32.
Because they believe her. They believe everything she's told them.
32. Since their return to Richard Allen's defense, Allen's attorneys have specifically requested via email February 26, 2024, that the state of Indiana provide all narrative reports related to the geofencing data, as well as all documents related to the geofencing data, but the state of Indiana so far has claimed that no such documents exist. Number 33, again, the defense is at the mercy of the prosecutor's claims of the existence or non-existence of such evidence. Number 34, as it relates to the geofencing evidence, it would be the it would be shocking that law enforcement would take the time to put a map together tracking the movements of certain phones in and around a crime scene between 12:39 54 p.m. and 5:49:06 p.m. on February 13, 2017, but would then not follow up with the detailed narrative reports concerning the geofencing analysis of that data.
How do they know they didn't follow up with
They
it?
don't know that. They're just putting this in this motion. Again, you guys, this motion was put out publicly so that it gets the public all worked up and thinking that they have found evidence of shit that's not, they have no proof of any of it.
This looks more like a press release.
Yes, they do not have to prove anything. Remember, the defense can say whatever they want to. They don't have to prove any of it.
Number 35.
Yeah, the prosecution has the burden.
Yeah, they have to prove it all. The prosecution has to prove everything they claim.
The prosecution claims no such geofencing report exists. However, the defense has heard this type of answer from the prosecution in the past, only to learn that the prosecution's claims that documents did not exist weren't true, such as number A. Within the last 2 weeks, the defense deposed the state's phone dump expert who presumably will be testifying concerning the data found on Liberty German's phone. B. Before the deposition, the defense had emailed the prosecution on February 26, 2024, seeking reports related to the phone dump of that particular phone in order to prepare for said depositions. The prosecution responded to the defense claiming that there were no reports related to the phone dump from that expert. Then at the deposition, minutes before the deposition began, the prosecutor handed over 2 or 3 pages of notes that the state's phone dump expert had made, providing the defense zero time to review as part of its preparation for the deposition and providing no opportunity for the defense to meet with its own technology expert in order to learn what questions would be wise to ask the state's experts at said deposition.
Now, when they geofence, right? And that takes time, and it takes time to go through all of that stuff. They can throw out the cell phones of the people who live in that area, people that should be in that general area. You know, they'll talk to them and all that, but they're looking for the ones that shouldn't be in that area. That's the ones that they focus on. Exactly. That's why they geofence, and then they have to take it from there. It's not a cut and dry thing, but still, even so, if they requested a geofence, you know, they need to have a subpoena for that, signed by a judge. Now, a cell phone dump, that's a different thing. That could be an administrative subpoena. A captain or a lieutenant can sign off on those. But they have to go through all that information. But I'm quite sure that if they geofence, that they went probably the night before till 2 days after for the geofence information. So they would have seen Richard Allen's phone.
Right.
When he said he was there.
I believe the geofencing was done by the FBI. That's me. I believe they're the ones who did it.
All right, I'm sorry I cut you off. Go ahead.
You're good. She's up.
Oh, it's me. Sorry.
Now batting.
The prosecutor handed over these notes without explanation and with no apparent reasons as to why the prosecutor had previously told the defense that no such documents exist, when in fact they did. The prosecutor's denial of the existence of certain documents regarding the phone dump before the deposition, followed by the unexplained production of certain documents within minutes of the deposition, sadly was not surprising, but highlights once again the less than forthright style in which the prosecution has been turning over evidence to the defense dating back to the beginning of the case. Number 36. Furthermore, because of the lack of candor concerning the existence or non-existence of certain evidence, the defense cannot be sure whether certain documentation exists concerning geofencing analysis, even though the prosecution is claiming that no such documentation exists. Number 37, since rejoining the case, the defense has sought out the name or names of the geofencing experts who analyzed the geofencing evidence for purposes of preparing for depositions to determine if the state's expert has an explanation as to why the geofencing evidence displays what appears to be extremely exculpatory evidence of people walking in and around the crime scene during times when law enforcement is claiming that the murders were taking place. At first, the prosecutor refused to provide the names of his experts, but then told the defense he would ask his investigator. Number 38, again, specifically, someone prepared a map which tracked the February 13th, 2017 afternoon movements of multiple phones in and around the place where the victims were ultimately found the following day. Particularly, some of these movements appear to have occurred between 3:02 p.m. and 3:27 p.m., either at the scene where the victims were ultimately found on February 14th, 2017, or within 60 to 100 yards from that site, and none of the phones or people associated with the phones have any affiliation with Richard Allen. 39, following the request for the identity of the geofencing experts, the prosecution claimed that he had no idea who analyzed the geofencing data, but then the state of Indiana provided the names of 4 people that may be called as a state's expert witness on geofencing. Number 40, nowhere in discovery has the defense located any narrative reports or other documentation or analysis of the geofencing data from any of the 4 identified state geofencing experts.
Look, they put the experts, sarcastically.
Yes, like they're not really truly experts.
And they're starting sentences off with furthermore and again and additionally.
Right.
It's very unprofessional.
Very.
Oh my God, we still got another 50 pages to go. 51. God, Lord. Where was he? 7. Now, number 41. Nowhere in discovery has the defense found any documentation negating the defense's analysis that the geofencing evidence shows multiple people were found in and near the crime scene at the time where law enforcement claims the murders were occurring. Additionally, the defense has reviewed all discovery provided by the state of Indiana and has not yet found a single interview of any of the people whose phones, according to the geofencing data, were found the afternoon of February 13, 2024, moving in or around the location where the bodies were ultimately found the following day at the time when the murders would have taken place, according to law enforcement timelines. The defense did locate very limited background information concerning one of the owners of the phones. They did not locate any narrative reports, interviews, or notes concerning the owner of the phone. Number 44. It would be shocking if the owners of these phones were not interviewed when their movements were tracked and then replicated on a map depicting their movements around the crime scene based upon geofencing coordinates. Yet the defense has not located any interviews of the owners of those phones. 45.
Frank, real quick, let me answer our missteps question.
Yeah.
The terms geofencing and geocaching, they're totally different. Geofencing is where they take cell phone data and they can put a fence around a certain area and they can see all the cell phone activity in that area. Geocaching is where somebody goes and places an item like out in the woods and they mark the coordinates of where they put it and other people go and try and find it. It's like a hobby. Geocaching is like a hobby.
Yeah. Number 40.
I'm sorry, Frank. I just want to answer that. And thank you for the $4.99 misstep too. You're awesome.
Yeah. You guys want to stop right now and go through the chat real quick? Or do we need to keep going on this?
No, you can go ahead. You can go ahead and go to chat. I don't care.
All right. Let's see. What do we got in here?
Some of this stuff, I mean, we can skip over. I mean, it would be shocking. They start off a sentence with that, and then
there they go with however.
Yeah, and what I was just reading, you were about 3 away from where they say now maybe there's paperwork or evidence that debunks all of this shit that we're saying about geofencing, but we haven't seen it yet. So, you know, they're wasting everybody's time.
You're talking about number 47 here. It says, well, it is possible that the geofencing is not what it appears to be,
Right.
or perhaps what was later debunked in other documents that has not been turned over to the defense.
So this is like a press release. They're just planting these seeds to piss people off.
Exactly.
And then they say, well, it probably doesn't exist anyway.
They
just
want
don't know
an emotional response, and basically not from anybody but the public. This is a pattern of behavior that the defense has been playing throughout this case.
But none of this says somebody else did it. They're all trying to protect Richard Allen.
Oh, exactly.
When they shouldn't be. They said their defense strategy, is to prove that a third party did this, not their client. He's totally innocent.
Mm-hmm.
And they should be jumping up and down, screaming from the rooftops that, look, he said he was on a stock ticker. Get that metadata, find out which one he was on, and let's be done with this. We can tell exactly when he was there. But they know he's guilty. They know he wasn't on a stock ticker. They know that's all bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I can see defending the man, but if you go into this extreme, that just tells me how guilty he is. They're being this ridiculous.
I mean, it's blatantly obvious what's going on here. Now they're trying to deflect it all off on Nick McLean and making it look like he's the one that's causing all these delays. No, not at all. Prove that he's done this.
Well, they're playing on human nature.
Yep.
The good nature.
The human emotion.
Yeah, because, you know, they're not going to convince law enforcement. They're certainly not going to convince me, but they may be able to convince one jury member.
Right.
So that's what they do. They do all this bullshit and theatrics and smoke and mirrors. But that said, you know, exculpatory evidence is very important. They have to turn that over. If there's any evidence that says Richard Allen did not do it, is different than any evidence that said somebody else did it. They're both, somebody else did it is not really exculpatory. That's somebody else did it. But he has no alibi. There's no evidence that proves that he did not do it. You know, so there's different levels of exculpatory evidence. But they're just trying to throw that word around all over the place.
Well, they're throwing a lot of words around all over the place. And I like how they pull little bits and pieces out of what was said or what was in a transcript or what was ever. They take everything out of context, place it in a document like this, and make it seem like it's evidence. And then they'll go back and say, well, this could be the case. Not that it's evidence. It could be.
Right. Right.
But still, I mean, that's important evidence. Like I said, if an eighth of this is true, that's no good.
If there's exculpatory evidence in this investigation that the prosecutor has withheld, absolutely, that needs to be called out and it needs to be dealt with. But I guarantee you, Nick McClellan is not an idiot. And this is a high-profile case. And if there's exculpatory evidence against this guy, he would have turned it over. He also may not have charged him. You have to remember that if there's exculpatory evidence, what is that evidence? How strong is it? Is it circumstantial? Is it direct evidence? What is it? I don't believe it's direct evidence. It's got to be circumstantial if that's what they're claiming. And if it's the Odinism crap, to me, that's nothing. That's a whole big pile of doo-doo.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Route 66-1 says, don't they make enough to hire proofreaders? They got the college kids doing all this stuff for them is exactly what's going on.
And that's scary in itself, because if college kids can't proofread, we're in trouble.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, Randy says it'll all come out in the 18th. Randy, they don't want it. They want to go straight to trial now. They don't want any of those hearings. They want to bypass all of that and go straight to trial.
Well,
no ancillaries.
And you see what the last filing was of the day. They want Nick recused from that hearing that day.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
Of course, they don't want him to be able to stand up there and argue against what they're going to put forth.
I don't blame them
want to
for
have
that.
to face him.
That's crazy. I'm like, oh, come on.
I hate this whole lawyer shit. Ex parte motions are stupid.
Yes.
Everybody wants transparency, but shh. This is just between me and you. But what are they bitching about? We got blindsided in the judge's chambers. We got blindsided. That was bullshit.
Really? That's why you had Hennessy there before you even went into her chambers.
Right. and the Indiana Supreme Court did not say that was wrong. They just said you didn't take the proper steps. She should have went outside and did that hearing.
Yeah,
is what she should have done. And I'm glad she called her bluff on this speedy trial shit. I wish she also called their bluff on the pro bono. They'd be bankrupt by now. And they're asking for money for more experts again.
Yeah. I'm like, that's what I was telling
experts, like they say, experts.
I told Frank that today when he and I were talking. I'm like, are you kidding me? And they asked to be pro bono and they haven't gotten through all this discovery yet. And they haven't done this and they haven't done that, but yet they want a speedy trial. Who are they kidding?
Right.
This is a joke, you guys. This is a joke. They know he's guilty. There is nothing that they can do.
Of course he's guilty.
They have to still defend him to the
best of their ability, and this is what they're trying to do. And it's going to be, that's why they prefaced, if there's now a delay in the trial that has been set for May 13th, it's not our fault. It's the prosecution's fault.
And I agree with Ivy Rose. I wouldn't mind if they moved the contempt hearing to after the trial either. Let's get the trial rolling, because there's so much grounds for an appeal already. So it's not like it's going to make a difference, but let's make sure we get all this in.
Yeah. There's going to definitely be an appeal.
And I don't want people to take me the wrong way. The defense is doing a great job. It's crazy what they're going through. It just tells me they know he's guilty, but they're doing their job. It's part of the system.
Because they're supposed to defend him at all costs.
But they're supposed to, they have a college degree and they can't even get date right.
Exactly.
The Red Queen
Nobody's reading this before they put it out there.
No. The Red Queen says you would think that this isn't their first legal rodeo. How in the hell did an ex parte motion not be made private or sealed?
How was this not sealed? Look at all the information they're putting out to the public right now. How is this not a violation of the gag order?
Because they didn't want it sealed. They want it to be a press release. They want us all weighing in on it and having a shit show on social media. That's what they want.
And the world is watching, and they're making the American judicial system look ridiculous.
They are, for sure.
Is what they're doing.
Yep.
Yes, I believe in the state of Indiana, jury selection does count as the first day of the trial.
Oh, it'll take them longer than a day to select a jury in this trial.
Oh yes.
It's going to take longer than a day.
It's like I've been saying that joke. Knock, knock. Who's there? Richard Allen. Richard Allen who? You're on the jury.
Bees9 says defense says they are competent, but they don't know how to seal motions. But Nick's fault somehow. And yeah.
Well, I don't blame Nick. Yes, when he's seen ex parte,
he should have known better.
We have.
He should have known better.
Yes.
He should have known better.
It's like I said, Frank. If you put something in my mailbox and it says "Ruckus, do not read this,"
fuck you. It's in my email.
I'm reading it. I'm reading it, and I'm going to blame you. This dumb asshole put it in my mailbox. That's all Nick's got to say.
Just like the Brandon Woodhouse situation.
Right, and let me tell you something. If Nick didn't read that, Murder Sheets would have.
Yep.
They have access to the same shit, or Bob could have got a hold of that,
right?
Because he has access to the same stuff, right? They have that.
You didn't mention the wrong team in front of her.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. Please don't get me started.
Well, I'm just saying they have access to that information.
They have stepped over the frickin' line with me, and that bullshit that they did while I was in Chicago about Fig is just, to me, absolutely disgusting. I mean, they just absolutely called him out for all the same shit that they've been doing since day one in this case.
I didn't hear what they said.
Oh my
So I have
God.
no
It's
idea.
just,
I heard about it.
It was awful. And, you
Yeah.
know, Fig is a person of integrity. He is a good guy. He means well. He has been a victim of crime. You know, his cousin was brutally murdered, shot in the head while he slept in a tent
With his children.
with his two little girls sleeping
Mhm.
on the side of him.
Mhm.
I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? They don't have a clue who this guy is. He knows, he's very smart, he's very intelligent, and I believe that some of these YouTubers are just absolutely jealous.
Well, they're podcasters, aren't they?
They're the kind of content that he puts out. It's factual, you know, it's all
Oh, I'm
logical.
100% on Fig's side.
So I'm like,
1000%.
Yeah.
it's just pathetic. And they have, oh my God, they are bottom feeders.
There's so many people that came to his defense. Look at, I mean, prime example, Frank sent a correspondence to the court to defend Fig. You know, that's saying something right there when Frank's doing it. That's all I can say about that. But Biz Nice is they knew they filed speedy trial to use it to avoid their contempt hearing. It's all about them. The contempt hearing was set before the trial was set.
Hey, Cryptex is in here. I want to see if he can say the word seizures yet. Did you guys see his video?
No, I don't watch him.
He's great. You should check him out.
And Squeaky Wheel says these guys just ask for a speedy trial and it was granted. 2 days later, they're filing their whiny grievances. Sounds like somebody may not be ready to go to trial after all. Well,
and they want to blame the state for the delay.
Right. And we knew that back in February when they admitted they weren't going to be ready because they hadn't got through the discovery yet.
Exactly.
Right. Now, I thought all discovery had been turned over. Now, there may be new discovery because of this bullshit Frank's memo. But everything should have been turned over already. Now, when they fired them, they had to turn it over to Nick. He had to give it to the new attorney. Yep. Well, then the new attorneys had to turn it over to Nick, and he had to turn it back over to Baldwin and Rossi.
Now, do you also think that there was an accounting of what was turned over, and that had to be gone through to make sure that they had everything back?
I'm sure there is.
You know what I mean? From both, you know, you're taking it, you're giving it, you're taking it. You've got to have an accounting of what's being given,
right?
To make sure that things aren't missing.
Exactly. Well, I mean, common sense would say that. You know, but it sounds to me like they're making accusations without any receipts, as they say on the YouTube streets. They don't have any receipts. It could be
them coming out and saying that Fig is talking to the prosecutor and sharing information or whatever. Hello, he's prosecuting a murder trial. If you have evidence that you got crime scene photos, and you want to let the prosecutor know, hey, man, I was sent these photos. What do you want me to do with them? I want you to get rid of everything. That's what he said. That's what he told him. Mm-hmm. But that's not what they made it sound like. They made it sound like he was telling him, the prosecutor was telling him, get rid of the evidence of our conversation. I mean, it's pathetic.
Well, fortunately,
the conspiracy theorists that are around this case make my head explode.
Now, let me get in here real quick. The Red Queen says, I skimmed the docs earlier. I'm very curious about the geofencing data. Now, like Fig or Skinhead there said, all it is an area that's got a fence around it that they mapped out on what the satellites, right? Is that how they do it?
Yeah, Fourth Amendment rights come into play. because this is Big Brother stuff. That's why
Right.
they need a judge to sign off on that.
Right.
You know, because they shouldn't be able to keep tabs on where we're at and when we're there. You know,
But they even admitted this information might not even be correct.
right?
What we just
Or
said.
exist.
Or exist. And from what we know through this case, that's what they've been using as geofencing. There is no way they can get that accurate of how close those phones were to the crime scene.
They would have to use GPS. Cell dumps
Yes.
use triangulation
Yes.
from the cell towers.
Yes.
But with only one tower that was semi-close and then the other one that was far away, you can't triangulate without three.
Right.
So,
That's
but still, if
believe
they used geofence, that would have been a smart move. But I think we would have heard about that by now.
Right.
But the defense is trying to try this in the public, and
Yes.
the state is not. So the state probably has a lot of stuff that we don't know about.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
But there's people out there, and I'm just going to use this for an example. There's people out there that think that they have the right to see all the evidence that the state has. It's their right. They should know. They should have to know. Well, then if you are turning in evidence to say, I don't know, the attorney general, if you're dropping off a bunch of paperwork to the attorney general, you should put that out to all of us before you do that, if that's the case. So it's not, the state does not have any obligation to show us a damn thing during an active investigation.
Not
an
during
active
an
trial.
active investigation or a trial. After the fact, they can choose to show whatever the court deems they can show. Because again, this is a case that involves minors. There will be things that could very well be sealed in this case at the end, where we don't get to see autopsies. We don't get to see, I mean, there's a lot of things that they could still seal because of this being a crime against children. And for the people out there that think they're on a need to know basis, I've got news for them. They don't have a need to know shit regarding this case.
And
now,
those crime scene photos were redacted.
Family members do
as well.
They're on.
So that was not raw evidence. It was redacted. There was black areas in those photos. So somebody had doctored those photos. So that's to me, they did that on purpose. Because if you put out those photos, there could be a chance that you're in possession of CSAM if it's not redacted. I don't know how it works in Indiana, but they're not stupid. You know, they don't want to get in trouble for that on top of everything else, you know, so they redacted them and put them out.
Let's get the squeaky wheel here. That's what I was thinking. This is a fishing expedition. They have mountains of discovery, can't find certain things yet, so they blame McClelland for not turning it over. That's what it sounds like to me. Mrs. Depp's in the house. Jinx is in the house. Lakeside Justice is in the house.
Hi, Deb. How are you? Looking forward to seeing you on the 6th at the walk.
We need to get his big butt up here.
We do need to get him up here.
Who?
You.
Me? What did I do?
No, up at the walk is in April.
We need to get you to the memorial walk for the girls on the 6th of April.
Oh, no. I might come out in May, though.
Well, why a month later?
We're not going to be there
because I want to see him plead out before the trial starts.
Well, that's all great, but I'm not going to be there in May.
Oh, are you going in April?
I'm going in April. I'll be there the 6th. You need to come up.
I'll take a look. I'll see what.
Okay,
what it
cool.
looks like.
That'd be awesome. Because I'm having my knee replaced on the 15th of April. I won't be there
Jesus.
in May. Yeah.
Bees 9 says Baldwin said his criminal defense team is feared by the prosecutor, and it brings a smile to his face, maybe annoyed, but not feared. It sounds like he's afraid of Nick McClelland.
His criminal defense team is feared by the prosecution? No, it's not. No, it's not.
That's crazy.
Look what Squeaky Wheel says is we've all spent hours and hours examining these 18 pages bitch fest, and Go will condense it all down in 5 minutes and motion denied.
Without a hearing.
Without a hearing.
You forgot without a hearing on the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't take any shit.
She doesn't. And that's why she's where she's at. And the Supreme Court knows that. And like I said before, they know her history. The woman I went through, I did a whole thing on my channel about her and all of her, basically, you know, her schooling. I went through everything, how long she's been on the bench, all the stuff that she's done. This woman is in line for the Supreme Court of Indiana. She is on the short list to be appointed to the Supreme Court. So I'm here to tell you, she does know the law. She knows what she's doing. And even the defense attorney that was stuck on the case after she kicked off Baldwin and Rosie, he came out and said in his interview, well, if Richard Allen is going to be afforded a fair and just trial, the only person that can see to that and will see to that, and I'm confident will see to that, is Judge Francis Gull. He said that. And he's been practicing before her for over 20 years.
I did think that she overstepped her boundaries when she shit canned him like that.
Yeah, but remember, the Frank's motion was a brilliant piece of art or work.
Oh, yes, it was, wasn't it?
I remember that day sitting in the court and that came out of his mouth. We just looked at each other like, what did he just say?
Yeah.
That was
blatant idiocy. Well, I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, we have to suffer through this shit. Now they're doubling down. They're throwing out all these things. They don't want this hearing on the 18th.
No, they don't.
You know, they don't want any of this stuff. They're just trying to throw whatever they can. Boston Christian, thank you. Do you do your super chats at the end?
Yeah, that's what I do.
I'm sorry,
because I don't keep up with the chat as fast as everybody else does.
Okay.
They are being sorry, it just kind of went right out of my head.
All right, let's get to see through. She says, but I believe the killer sent something to her phone, and that's why Ellie kept it under wraps. They believe that Abby had a phone with her.
Well, that's what it says in this paperwork. They've said that there's other people involved, and that there was a victim number 2 phone. Now, we do know on that index that there was female voice 1, female voice 2. So they may have shit confused. But again, they go back to, well, this may have all been debunked. We just haven't got to that yet. You know, maybe in this pile that we have, but we haven't gotten to it yet. But we're going to put this paperwork out so we can look like total idiots.
Right, exactly.
When we do get to it. Oh, here it is. Never mind.
It does. Squeaky wheel does make sense there. A lot of the discovery the defense is asking for goes way back to the beginning of days of the investigation. We all know the first 5 years was a waste chasing shadows because RA fell through the cracks.
We don't know that all the first 5 years was wasted. We don't know that. We're just assuming. You can't assume. You know what that means when you assume. You can't assume. We don't know what happened. And until we absolutely know and hear it in court, what happened from the law enforcement investigators, we don't know for sure.
Exactly.
So you can speculate all you want as far as what law enforcement was doing and why they didn't do this and why they didn't do that, but we don't know.
We don't know what they did. They're not going to tell us what they've done and what they have not done, because then you're letting anybody else that could be involved know what's going on, and you don't want to do that. But we've even have the defense saying that other people are involved.
CJK says the Odins is all they have. They know their client is guilty based off his own admissions and the evidence.
And they can't figure out how to defend him except for Odin's. That's the Odinist angle is the only angle they've got, and they can't. That's why they're running with it. They can't figure out any other way to point the finger away from him. So they're going to try and muddy the water as much as they possibly can with all of the speculative, oh my God, it might have been this guy. Well, it might have been Peter Pan too. Or maybe Captain Hook was out there, for Christ's
And that's
sake.
their job, though.
That's what
their
they're,
Yep,
exactly.
that's their job.
And it's up to 12 jurors to sit there and listen to every single piece of evidence and decide.
Squeaky Wheel says, my God, can you imagine what the trial is going to be like as the state begins their case? Objection after objection after objection by Brad, Rosie, and
Oh, yeah.
blindsided will become their favorite catchphrase.
Well, the favorite tactic of defense attorneys is leading the witness, right? During direct examination, if you're a witness for me, Frank, I can't lead you. I can't say, well, isn't it true that you were standing on this corner?
Right.
I have to word it like, where were you at this time? Now, if I'm cross-examining you, then I can do that. I can lead you. That's the job of a cross-examination, is try and trip people up.
Patrick Westfall's what, 6'7", you guys? Is he 6'5" or 6'7"?
He's too tall for bridge guy.
I was just gonna say,
is somebody saying he's bridge guy?
No, because they're sitting here talking that Ron Logan can't be bridge guy because he's too tall. Well, so's Patrick Westfall. He's too tall as well.
He's taller than Ron Logan.
Yeah, exactly. But
Richard Allen is bridge guy. There's no doubt about that. Why
he is bridge guy? Absolutely bridge guy. Yes.
100%. 100% bridge guy.
Hey, Sleuth.
Hey, Sleuth's here.
Sleuth's
what up, Sleuth?
Hey, Sleuth. So good to see you.
Rick's phone doesn't show up because it was at his house. He had a burner phone that he bought from Dollar General or Family Dollar, whatever store, one of those dollar stores. He bought a phone from that a week or so before February 13th, 2017. So his phone was at the house. Period.
Hey, Chris.
Man, I am so far behind on the chat. It's not even funny. My God. I didn't even have caught up to Sleuth yet.
Yeah, it's hard, dude. I've been in your spot. We all have. Kristin knows too. It's hard to keep up.
It is. It's really hard.
But you try and focus on what you want to say, have some monologue instead of dialogue and deliver some information. But it's hard when you don't want to blow people off either, because they're nice enough to watch you.
Well, Ms. Deb says they are doing all this to try to pressure the judge and the prosecution to drop the charges of contempt.
Yep.
This is a press release. That's all it is. A glorified press release.
And I'm sorry, but I don't see her dropping the contempt charges.
No.
She's just as ticked off at the defense team and what they've done as the prosecution. And as far as I'm concerned, she has every right to be.
Now, she may give them a benefit of the doubt on some of these things. Like what they're saying basically is, we believe, common sense tells us that this evidence exists and it's exculpatory. So we believe, because we have common sense, that it exists. If it does not, could you please tell us that it doesn't so we can get on with our lives?
And
so
she may been told some of it doesn't exist by the prosecution, but they don't believe them.
Right. So she may tell McClellan, because they listed them out, exactly what they wanted. Go through each one and answer yes or no.
What up, Sleuth? Mustang says RA is bridge troll.
Yeah.
Jamie says, amen. RA is bridge guy as fuck.
No doubt about that, Jamie.
Hi, Jamie. And it's important because, Richard Allen is innocent until proven guilty. We all know that. We all recognize that. And and I said it before, if there's exculpatory evidence and they've withheld it, then they need to be in trouble for that. That is not cool. I do not, and until it's proven in court to me, believe that Nick McClellan would be that ridiculous to do something like that in this high profile of a case, knowing that it's going to come out, that it's going to get found out.
Question. Todd says, at what point do you think RA realized he was missing a bullet and likely dropped it at the trail? I don't think he realized it until it was mentioned.
Oh, I think it was. I probably when he went home and took the other bullet and stuck it on in his little keepsake box on top of his dresser.
Good point. And he's like, oh,
well, that whole, I mean, I'm biased. Everybody knows that. I really don't even need to say it anymore, and I do what I want.
But
that whole innocent until proven guilty shit.
I know.
I don't ride like that. I believe in due process. Yes, he deserves due process. Everybody does. But he's guilty. There's people out there right now, though, that if a video turns up of him committing these crimes, they'll say it didn't happen.
Oh no, I know.
You know?
Yeah,
so
I do know, because
I'm of this school of thought. Yeah, he did it. He's guilty as fuck, but he gets due process. We all do. So let's run this up the flagpole. Let's give him some attorneys. Let's let them do all this stupid, foolish shit that they're doing. Give this guy every opportunity, and then give him 12, 15 fucking appeals. But at the end of the day, let's convict this guy because he did it. I don't mind doing all that.
I totally agree with you. And I think he's melted down. I think part of what we've seen with him since his arrest is a man who is feeling remorseful and, oh my God, look what I've done. Look what I did. Look what happened. Now everybody knows. I had to come clean with my mom. I had to tell my wife what I did to get it off my conscience, because he's out of his mind over what happened.
Me and Kristin were talking about this earlier today. Will they go to be out of contempt jail by the time the trial starts? We talked about this earlier today, and the way we see it happening is we do believe she's going to find him guilty of the contempt, and she'll more likely either give him a big old fine or a little bit of jail time after this case is over with.
And I see there's a little bit of a conversation going on with Big Fish. She's welcome around me anytime. Her and I don't agree on anything, but she is so respectful and nice. She actually used some of my video, and I looked ridiculous in it. She made me look like a real asshole, but I don't mind because she was just getting her point across,
Sleuth
and I'm okay with that. I don't mind that at all.
Sleuth says he may have put the bullet in his pocket and taken the jacket off as he was walking out and dropped it. Another good point there.
Well, I think that if he had in his pocket, it wouldn't have ejection marks. I think he racked it for compliance. That's my opinion.
I think so too.
All of us that have guns, we take them apart and clean them sometimes. And if you keep one in the chamber, that one that you keep in the chamber's got a shitload of ejection marks on it, because every time you take it out to mess with it or clean it or whatever, you got to rack that round out.
Yeah.
So, that isn't, it's a good science, and there's precedence in the state already for that science. But it's not a brand new bullet that he pulled out of the box and had in his pocket and it fell on the ground. That's not the case, because it definitely has serrations and ejection marks on it. They know that already.
I do not think that he had any idea
I don't either.
Anybody knew that he brought a gun until he saw the video of him.
Mm-hmm.
When he saw the video of him, he's like, holy hell.
And according to what's been said, one of the girls said he's got a gun.
Yes.
On the audio.
Yeah, I haven't heard that. I mean, I've heard that said, but I haven't heard that audio.
No, we haven't heard. Nobody's heard the audio.
No.
But
if he heard them girls say that, he's like, damn.
Anna for sure confirmed that they said he had a gun.
Yes, I do remember her putting some messages out about that, or video or something. Deb says,
if he racked it, Sleuth, even if he racked a few rounds and picked him up and missed one,
right.
but all I'm saying is it was definitely cycled through that. It was racked through the chamber.
Deb says he might have thought it didn't matter because the girls were unalive with a knife, so he had no reason to think anything new. He had to get his gun there.
Yeah, he wasn't doing much thinking. I mean, we're Monday morning quarterbacking. Like, we're trying to figure out what his thought process was. When I'm here to tell you, he was nervous. His adrenaline was pumping like crazy. He probably doesn't even remember most of it, but he remembers enough to confess to
trust me, he remembers.
to staff and to his family. But I'm talking about people like, why would he walk up the street? I've seen it happen. If people will walk through a crowd after they commit a crime like that, they don't even realize where they're at. They're
Sometimes
in a
they
daze.
go home and sit down with their families and have a meal.
Yeah, that's the sickos. That's the BTKs. And
Alley Cat says the YouTube that started following this 6 months and already is being railroaded there are from another country. Those are the ones that are pro-defense.
Yeah, but fortunately, including me, I don't care about all of this stuff getting people sending emails and it getting put on the docket and stuff like that. We're not going to have any effect on this case. The people who are pro-defense and trying to interject are going to have no impact on this case. Get him, Blaze.
Come on, Blaze.
The people who are pro-prosecution who are interjecting are not going to affect this case. Nick already has all his evidence. He knows he's guilty, and it doesn't matter who presents it. They can fire Nick tomorrow. And whoever the next prosecutor is, the evidence is either good or it's not.
Right.
Period.
I had to turn the mic off because of loudmouth in here. I think he racked it and emptied the chamber because he had to tuck the firearm away. Frosty says a P226 has a hammer on it. I bet he never fired it and they only half cocked it and it malfunctioned. I don't think he would have used a gun out there anyway because it would have drawn too much attention to him.
Oh yeah, there would have been too much with those houses as close as it was.
Echoed.
I saw somebody earlier ask how far was the trail from the crime scene, and I think that was Ivy Rose maybe that asked that question way back. That it's about 3/4 of a mile,
about
half a mile from the crime scene to the trail itself.
I thought they said it was like 3 football fields.
Now that's from like the bridge.
Yeah.
Right. But if you walk to the bridge and you turn left right before you get to the bridge, there's another trail that goes down that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not well defined, especially at night. Jesus.
It's a deer trail, and it's like or a deer path, and it's much more pathable now than it was in 2017. That was really overgrown, and there was just a real small path for deer.
Yeah, the whole trail was like that. I've seen pictures. It was dirt and gravel and
trail. Now it's not at all what it looked like in 2017, because remember, Frank, you had to walk off the trail into the woods and up through the trees. You came to this big fence like thing that you had to walk around before you even got to the bridge.
It's right at the ravine.
It wasn't like when we walk it now where you just walk straight to the bridge. It was not like that at all.
Right.
I'll tell you what, man, it was steep. I've gone every which way you can go to get down there. And it was steep. It was steep everywhere I went. So like I said, when we were going downhill, I let Steve go first in case I fell. He would break my fall. And we were going up till I made sure I was in front of him because I didn't want him falling on me.
Oh, I got it. Todd made a good point here. He said he's not even aware enough to realize that the gun was visible in the BG video. That's why they doctored that little area to hide it from the public.
And I believe that's why they cut off the video where you can see Abby's shoulder or Abby's elbow in that picture, because I believe for the same reasons they did doctor the video and they cut it up so that we didn't see everything. And they tell us that in that first press conference when he talks about a TV and how you can't see over here and you can't see over here. All you see is what's on your screen, but that doesn't mean that there's not something over here or something over here.
Right.
They were
And they
trying
made
to-
it a point to
they were
say, keep in
trying to-
mind,
Yes,
this is
they-
one person talking.
exactly.
Keep that in mind.
And they were trying to let us know stuff then without letting us know.
Sleuth says Ted Bundy came back and committed the same crime twice in the same day from the same place.
Yeah, at a lake, a busy lake.
Yep.
It was a holiday weekend. He got 2 girls out of there. But I still, if you guys remember back in August when I did my Storm is Coming video, and that's got the most views out of all my video. I think it was like 1 minute and 24 seconds. It's amazing. But I still stand by all of that. All of that. He didn't do this alone. There's more people involved, and he's going to plead out. It's going to happen. All of this is smoke and mirrors and a bunch of bullshit. They're trying to stall, but he's screwed. His confessions alone is enough to get him convicted.
All right, let's take a
Alone.
vote here. Are we going to trial in May? Yes or no?
No.
Probably not.
I don't believe so either. What about the chat? 1 for yes, 2 for no. We're going to trial in May. 1 for yes, 2 for no for the chat. They're all into. Oh, I got somebody here. Oh, I see all 2s coming. I see a lot of 2s. Look at Ruckus.
Do you mind count?
Oh my God, dude. Really?
Spam in the chat. Spam in the chat.
Yeah. I'm gonna get kicked.
Now tomorrow I will predict Nick has a rebuttal for the state's compel and to sanction.
I do too. I think Nick will respond. I don't know if he's gonna I don't know if he's gonna respond to this document. I mean, he may respond and say that it's just another press release and their way to get around the gag order. Because I agree with Ruckus on that. This document, this is ridiculous. It's just wordy. It's way too long. There's no way that this motion, for what they wanted to have happen, needed to be that wordy and that long. They were trying to get stuff out there to fill our minds with crap so we would stop thinking about Richard Allen being guilty. And that's not going to work for me. Because Richard Allen's guilty.
I mean, he's going to have to come back with something and say, yes, on this date, I emailed you this. On this date, I emailed you that, blah, blah, blah. He's got to defend himself somehow. With a
And
result.
plus he withdrew. He withdrew that request. So
yeah,
I mean, he's saying, okay, yeah, well, he can definitely say, I didn't see it said ex parte on it. And nobody can tell whether he did or not. He seen it, he opened it, he didn't realize what it was. I think he knew. Of course he knew.
Of course. I mean,
but if they filed it correctly, it's like I said, if you didn't put that in my mailbox with Ruckus, don't read this, I never would have seen it. Yeah.
Do you guys want to comment on change of venue?
Not going to happen.
That's out there too.
That's not going to happen. Yeah.
No, not going to happen.
No, they're bringing the jury in from Allen County.
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I don't think it will either.
I don't believe it will.
But
the judge is set. She's getting tired of the horseplay that's going on with this defense team. She's tired of it. Like you said, she called her bluff. You know, when it comes to the speedy trial,
she did.
She went ahead and granted it for them, and look what happens. They're turning around and bitching and whining already.
Yep, they're already saying, "Oh, well, it's going to be a delay, and don't blame us. Don't blame us. It's going to be the prosecution's fault because we've just brought up all this discovery crap." And what I think is funny about the discovery stuff is that they're talking about the fact that Nick McClelland didn't come out and do what he should have done about them a year ago. It took him. He's doing it now. Well, hello. What about you guys? If you weren't getting discovery back in February of 2023, why were you not hitting up the court then? Why are you doing it now?
Right, exactly.
Same thing can be said of them.
Yeah, it could go both. I mean, this is what happens. I hate this part of the system.
This is part of the system.
Yeah,
This
my
is
God,
what
it
happens. This is
sucks.
and everything has to be done in emotion or it didn't happen. So if they don't put it in emotion, they can't bring it up in an appeal because there's no record of it in the court record. So everything has to be made a record of, and they do that through motions.
Okay, got another one. Who believes he's going to plead out? 1 for yes, 2 for no.
I'm not going to put 15,000 ones in there.
I'm on the fence with that one because I know that it only takes one juror, and with what's gone on in this country with people not believing facts and evidence and truth, I think it's easy for them to get one juror.
Yeah, but see,
I hate
are
to
you
say
going
that because
are you going to take your chances? I mean, out of 12 people, come on now. I mean, this is a double child murder.
He does not want to stand up in court and confess to it.
You really think the defense is going to take a chance on somebody's life? I honestly don't.
Yeah, but it's Indiana. I mean, they've only killed 9 people in the past 30 years on death row.
It doesn't make a difference. They still sentence to life in prison without the possibility of parole. 2 life sentences.
I think he's ready to go. Myself, I think he knows that that's what he's looking at.
Yeah.
Well, I believe he's going to take a deal because he's already been offered a deal, but he doesn't want to stand up in court and say what his participation in this was. So part of the deal is he doesn't have to do that. That's going to be part of his plea deal.
See, I don't think Nick's going to go for that. I honestly don't think
Nick will go for that, and I don't think the families will. I don't look for Libby's family to go for a deal.
No, we want to know why you did this. That's got to be part of the plea. Point blank, period.
If not, I'm here to tell you, you can go through a whole trial and we won't know why he did it. It's happened before. You know, why did OJ kill his wife? You know what I mean?
You're on a catch-22, basically, is what we're saying here. You either go to trial or take a plea to take a chance to tell if he's going to tell us or not. One of the two. You know.
I've told people over and over again, you don't always get to find out motive. You don't always get to find out the why. And we may never know the why. Right. If this is a lone wolf guy, we may never know why he did this that day. And I still say it may have been something that got out of his control. He may not have wanted to unlive them, but that's what happened because one got away and ran, and he was like, I can't let them, they'll know who I am. They'll be able to, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that could be what happened. We don't know for positively sure what happened.
Collateral damage. It was collateral damage, basically.
But I mean, just look at the Golden State Killer. He pled out to all those other murders, and he didn't say shit. Went right back to his cell.
Yep.
So it happens,
and he may never tell anybody why.
And I trust Doug Carter, and I like Doug Carter. He said that he will tell us someday. So no matter what happens, if he pleads out, I guarantee you Doug Carter is going to tell us what happened.
Oh, Doug Carter wants to tell us. I believe that. I do believe that he wants to tell the story. I think he wants to tell the whole story of everything from the beginning to now. And I hope, upon hope, that we find it all out. The Keegan Kline angle, all of it. I hope we find out everything, because if we do, it'll help to silence some of the naysayers that don't believe any of this, you know, because there's people out there that don't believe any of what we're talking about tonight. They don't believe it. And they're on other channels, you know, professing that, which is their right. You know, I'm not here to change their mind.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You know, I'm not. That's not what this is about. You know, for me, it's just stating what's fact, what's out there, what's evidence, and how do you write that off when it's staring you right in the face?
It's all there.
Confirmation bias is real. And we have to try to keep our confirmation bias at bay. And it's very difficult as human beings to do that.
But like you said, when all the evidence in his own words points right to him, you can't be confirmation bias at all. You just can't.
Yep.
You can't just look away from that whatsoever.
Those confessions are huge. And him to get around those, they don't have a good way of defending those.
No, not at all.
And you can say what you want. But if you're out there protesting and holding signs and stomping up and down and defending a murderer, demanding his due process, you're an activist. Yeah, you're an activist. You're an activist. So I don't agree with any of that. I think that that's a bunch of bullshit. You're not an advocate. You're not being an advocate for due process. No. You're being an activist, because these same people that want Richard Allen to have due process do not want Fig to have due process. They want to play judge, jury, and executioner on Fig and decide his fate.
Exactly.
So that tells you their mindset, and they're activists. That's just what they are. That's the way I treat them. So I don't talk to activists.
Agree. No, I totally agree with you, and I think that they pick and choose how they apply the law as well.
And they call themselves advocates.
Right.
And it's a shame. It's just, I'm 60 years old. I don't understand this woke shit or any of that.
I don't either.
I've been woke for a long time. Is it lunchtime yet? I'm up. I'm woke.
He's ready for Coors Light.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but that's why I don't want to argue with those people. I don't even want to talk to those people.
Right.
To go do what you want. The police will deal with you as soon as you start acting up too much.
To be an advocate for Richard Allen and not be a person who stands up for Abby and Libby and their justice and what happened to them that day in the woods is sickening to me. I mean, if you're going to be an advocate, how about being an advocate for the two girls that lost their lives?
I agree.
All right. I agree. 3-minute warning, guys. 3-minute warning. All right. Anything else we need to cover? We want to go ahead and discuss now before we start closing out tonight, guys?
Frosty said they just cuss and call you names. That's right. When they don't have anything to defend their stance and why they believe what they believe, they make it personal.
Now, YouTube doesn't have an ambulance service you can call for them to come and help you when you got a fucking aneurysm online like that.
That's it.
Take a chill pill, people.
That Katie O'Hare that is calling for everybody to go after Frank because he doxes, and that's not right. You're talking about little Frankie Frank. When she's the one that doxed me, tried to tell everybody that I was never a deputy and any of that shit. She's the one that did that. She lives in Mexico. But now she's crying that, we should all attack Frank because Frank is attacking her and her friends, and
all I got to say to people, if you smoke weed, smoke your weed if you're a creator, because it chills you out. You ain't going to have no damn aneurysm, no cardiac arrest or any of that shit. Because what I saw last night, man, I was surprised there wasn't no EMT giving him mouth to mouth right there last night. I was like, oh, Lord. I was flabbergasted. Me and Kristin were sitting texting back and forth going, this is hilarious, watching him go the way he was acting. I was like, my God, oh my God.
It's just I don't know. Like I said, I really have tried the whole time I've had my channel to stay in my lane, not do this, not call out creators and not, attack others that are telling their story their way. But I firmly believe that there is an ethical way to tell victims' crime stories. And I don't believe that everybody in the Delphi-ville area of true crime on social media adheres to that. They don't tell Abby and Libby's story. In fact, it's not about Abby and Libby anymore to them. It's about them themselves and being right. They want to be right, and they're going to be right at any cost. They don't care.
You see that?
I want justice for those two girls right there. That's what I want.
Further foremost, it's what it's all about. Always justice for them. Always.
Always.
And it's coming real soon, hopefully.
They didn't
So,
deserve what happened to them that day, and the person who did that to them needs to pay.
yes. I want to give a shout out to Amelia for the $5 super sticker. We got Leslie Kingston with a $4.99, Mrs. Depp $4.99, Boston Christian $4.99, 6-3 o'clock's $10. Thank you very much for the donations for helping support the stream tonight. And for my mods, you did a great job tonight. Thank you all out there and everybody that showed up for the show tonight. Much love to all and each and one of you. Kristin,
Thank you
Ruckus.
so much for having me. And you guys,
Mhm.
Ruckus, it's always good to see you, my friend.
And by the way, these two will be running my show next Monday while I'm in Allen County at the courthouse.
Yay!
And
The A
another,
team.
and the next thing is that I have merchandise coming, guys. I teamed up with the merch lady that Ruckus uses, and she's making some samples for me, and she's going to be sending them to me soon so I can check them out. So
Kim's awesome.
yes, and once I get that going, I'll let everybody know. But once again, Kristin, Ruckus, thank you so much for you guys participating tonight. And to all my people in the chat and my mods, thank you so much.
Be safe, everybody, and pay it forward. Be kind, please.
You know what time it is? Peace out. One love, guys. Good night.